afternoon. I remembered to hit the live button on this Friday. So we are starting off the show absolutely fabulously. Happy Friday. It's been a week, 5 shows. We've done it. There's been a few bumps in the road. Waiting for Kim McAllister to slide on over to her news seat following Mark Thompson's show. Again, a big thank you to Mark Thompson for kind of helping us all launch this show and, just bring a taste of what we had at Studio X, which I'm loving that name. I do want to take a moment, as we always want to say a huge thank you to Steve Moskowitz, who is our exclusive and founding sponsor. If you need any tax help, please give Steve a call. He knows what he's talking about. He has the answers. If he doesn't know the answer, he'll find it out for you. Don't go to Google. Steve is your tax Google. He has all of the answers. He's been doing it for 40 years. You can find him online at moskowitzllp.com or simply call him at 888 tax deal. And yes, it's our first week. We've done 5 shows, but if you like what you see, what you hear, please support the show. Right now, you can give it a thumbs up. Liking the video every single day, not just once, but every time you're on the show, really helps our exposure. And the more listeners and viewers that we get, the more we can expand and grow the show. So click that thumbs up just once. If you hit it twice, it goes away. So just hit it once. And then also subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and then hit that bell right next to the subscribe button so you will be notified when the show goes live, which is so funny. If you weren't here yesterday, Kim and I started the show and my husband runs in here. He's like, "You're not on." And I forgot to hit the live button. I'm doing it all on my own. So I'd love to get a tech guy, a producer as part of our show. So any sort of help that you can give, if it's just a subscribe or a thumbs up, I really, really appreciate it. If you can financially donate to the show, we always appreciate that as well. I'd like to bring in some money. Kim would love to have some money for working on this show. So just go to the NikkiMedoroShow.com. There are links to my YouTube channel that you could share with your family and your friends. And then there is also a link to our Patreon. Now we're about 1,000 viewing hours, which is not a lot in the grand scheme of things, until we can open up the super chat feature. I was listening to Mark's show and it's like, oh God, I feel like public radio where they're always doing these donation drives. And you understand that when the show is listener and viewer supported, when you depend on that, you have to do these drives. And I have to say these things and kind of hold out the hand and ask for some money to continue this show because I want to continue to talk to you in any way that I can. So we'll have the super chat feature hopefully by next week. And then you can donate during the show in the live chat feature. Your chat will be read on air. We'll give you huge props and any amount though. Any amount whatsoever, we really do appreciate on the Nikki Medoro show because I do want to grow it so much. And I thank everybody that has emailed and has donated to the Patreon. It means the world to me. Okay, we're going to have a fun show next hour. Now, remember, I just told you that you can reach out to me anytime you want to. Well, I had one of our viewers / listeners, Gayla Schiff. She emailed me. I was talking about being laid off. Our first show, actually, this past Monday, we launched the show. And Kim and I were talking about explaining being laid off to your children and how difficult it can be to, especially depending on the age of your child, to explain what that means, that everything's okay. It's not as if the world is going to end. Let's welcome Kim McAllister. Hey, Kim.
Hi.
Hi. So I was just saying before you slid on over from Mark, we're going to have a special guest, actually 2 special guests in the next hour. And I was explaining that one of our viewers / listeners, Gabe
Okay.
Schiff, reached out to me. And our listeners and viewers can do it as well. The Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com. And she was reacting, Kim, to our conversation that we had on Monday about being laid off and explaining it to your kids and, trying to find a job when you're older. I was saying, we're in our 40s and, not that it's easy to start something kind of new for us, even though we're in the same type of business. Imagine being in your late 50s or early 60s. and having a lot more work ahead of you, what obstacles do you face? And Gayla reached out to me, which is I have experienced so much ageism trying to get another job and in the workplace. So she's actually going to join us. I'm going to bring one of our viewers slash listeners on the
Great.
show at 1 o'clock. And then one of our colleagues, Terry Hardesty, she worked with us at Station X
Yep.
for years. And she actually knows a lot about this. She's reported on it. I think she has a website and she has a lot of information about this type of discrimination. And even though I don't want to bring necessarily gender into the whole thing, it's different for women than it is for men, especially depending on what kind of occupation you want to go into.
It's true. Although I will say, I think that when you're looking at the tech field, it's such a field where you want the people with the latest education and the most recent knowledge and people that have
Yeah.
been keeping up on things. So I think that it can be that men that are older and looking for a job in the tech field, and we're seeing layoffs in the tech field right now, may be
Mhm.
feeling that sting of ageism as well.
Yeah, and you're absolutely correct. And I don't want to make it seem like it's just so much easier always for men. I think it really does come down to the job market, what you want to go into. But I'll also say this, and this is what I'm looking forward to this conversation happening in the next hour with Gayla and Terry is, what are some of the ways in which we can promote ourselves as we are getting older? So yes, we may not be that fresh face right out of college, but we bring with us skills and experience that time is the only thing that can give you. And so that conversation is going to come up at 1 o'clock. We'll also have a bunch of fun things because it is Friday. We'll have a couple of stories of adults behaving badly, including one where I'm going to be honest, when I heard it, okay, when I heard about the story, I totally started laughing. And then when I saw the video, I was like, oh, well, that's awful. So I'll have that for you. We'll have a little bit of celebrity trash as well, because it's a great Friday show. We'll talk about student loan debt. All of that is coming up. But right now, I do want to welcome our man, our tax expert, Steve Moskowitz is joining us. Steve, you look fabulous right now.
Well, thank you. And I like skills and experience. I like to think that's one of the things that we offer you as experienced attorneys. And,
Mhm.
and let me tell you where that comes up, and it's so important. We've been talking about ERC. That's where the federal government is giving away their grants. They're not loans, giving away up to $26,000 for every employee that employer has that qualifies. And you say, well, there's a lot of confusion about what qualifies on both ends. We're going to talk about both. There's two tests. One's an easy test. It's a certain drop in gross revenue. That's mathematical. You're either above or below the number. Nothing to talk about. But a lot of CPAs and a lot of firms stop there and say, if you don't meet the math test, no ERC for you. Not true. There's another test, and the law says either or. And the other test, the formal name is full or partial closure. We call it facts and circumstances. An example of that is all businesses in the state of California were mandated from the beginning of the pandemic till 6/15/21 to only use 25% of their inside of their business. So even an essential business like Safeway could only use 25% of their store. That may qualify. And then supply chain disruptions. But it's you have to figure it out. It's far more complex. We'll take the time to sit down with you and figure it out. Do you qualify or not? And if you do, that's wonderful. Let's take every dollar to which you're legally entitled. If you don't, we'll go ahead and we'll tell you that too, if you don't qualify. But there's the other extreme that the IRS is going after now. There's some companies, and in this area, we're a law firm. We've been around for over 30 years. But there's some pop-up companies. They just come into existence just to file these applications, and then they're going to fold their tents and be gone. So if the IRS has some questions and you call them up, the number's going to be disconnected. They're gone. And there's been a lot of fraud, Nikki, that some of these companies are saying, you know what? If you have a checkbook, you qualify.
Right.
And you don't want that either. In the tax world, what I've always said, you want to take everything to which you're legally entitled, no more, no less. If you are entitled to a benefit, by all means, you should take it. And that's what we want to do for you. On the other hand, if you go to some company that says everybody qualifies, you don't want to do anything fraudulent either. That's true of anything on your tax return. You don't want to make something up. You don't want to cheat on your taxes. And this is an area where most people are relying on somebody. So again, watch out for the two extremes. The one extreme where they don't even look at the second area because it's more complex. And you don't want to go to one of those companies that says everybody qualifies and get you in trouble. I'd like to think that we will do everything for you within the bounds of the law. We'll determine, do you qualify or not? If you don't, we'll tell you why you don't. But if you do, let's go ahead and get your money. And for a lot of clients, this can be substantial. Remember, this is up to $26,000 for every employee that you have that qualifies.
That is amazing. And I love the fact, Steve, that you tell people, look, I'm going to tell you the truth so that when you give them the advice, when they are using your service, they know, you know what? It's all on the up and up. I can sleep soundly at night. And I love that about you, Steve.
The sleep of the innocent.
I love that line. Give Steve a call, 888 tax deal, or find him online at moskowitzllp.com. Have a good one, Steve. Thank you.
Thanks, Nikki.
Yeah. So it does seem that, Steve Moskowitz is the man to call, as always. So just support our exclusive founding sponsor because he makes all the difference in the world. So I don't know if we have Kim McAllister with us right now. Kim, are you there?
I'm here, but I don't know how to put myself back in. I think I'm back in. Am I back in?
You're back in. We hear
Okay.
you. We hear you. We love the Kim McAllister. So Kim,
I was
it is
tampering
Friday.
with the layout, trying to figure it out. I'm like, I want Steve Moskowitz to be big, so I took myself away.
Oh, that was you. All right.
Yeah.
I was like, is that me?
I'm learning. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
we love that. No, so I'm assuming, well, all the technical aspects, Kim, we are learning on our own.
There's all
and
these
so,
different things you can do. I
look
can
at her,
do
she's
that.
messing with it.
And that. Oh, I can make myself little.
See, I just made Kim McAllister an admin, and so she has a new toy right now. I
Ah,
love
look
it.
at all
I
that.
love it. I love it. Okay, so it is October 21st.
Okay.
Today is Back to the Future Day. Do you know why?
Well, is this the day when the DeLorean arrives in the future?
It's the day. It's the date that they plugged in. I always thought it was my birthday because somebody always superimposed my birthday on the
Did
date.
I
But
miss your birthday?
no, my birthday
When
is next week. It's next
Okay.
week.
Okay.
Okay, so but
What day
October
is it next week?
21st.
I'm writing it down.
It's the 26th. Is that a
Okay.
Wednesday? I think it's a Wednesday.
Okay.
All right, so October 21st
Mhm.
is the date that they put into the DeLorean. And so, obviously Back to the Future 1 was a big hit. They did Back to the Future 2. Apparently in 1989, that's when the Back to the Future, turned into a trilogy, started. October 21st was what it plugged into the DeLorean. So what were they correct about? So they predicted a lot about the year 2015. They predicted
Okay.
flying cars.
No.
No, but I
Well,
feel like we're on the way there.
we have it now with the what's the name of that
Flying
company?
taxis? No.
Yeah, because they're
Mhm.
they're vertical. They can lift up
Yeah.
and
It
it's
gets you out of
coming.
traffic. But
We're on the way.
people drive like crap on the road. I don't want people in the air where like an accident means you like fall to your death. Hoverboards? Now, do not tell me that what we have is hoverboards. We do not have what
No.
Michael J. Fox had. That was a hoverboard. We have
Wheels
a
wheels
Segway
yeah.
without, handles. That's
Well,
what we
and
have.
even if you have a hoverboard, wheels still touch the ground. So it's not like
Exactly.
hovering in air. So that doesn't work.
No. Big screen televisions, obviously we have those. Virtual reality goggles. Was anybody a glass hole? That's not virtual reality though, but virtual reality goggles exist,
I
obviously
would say we
Oculus.
have the video calls so that calls are on video now. Not all the time.
True.
In the future, it seems like everybody always does video calls, but we do have the technology.
That is true. So they were right about a couple of things. So happy Back to the Future Day to all of you. Go watch the movies. And I remember we watched it with our kids a few years ago. We watched the first one and we're like, there's another one. And we watched that one. And then we watched the third. The third isn't my favorite, but I did enjoy it. So
It has
that's the
some
one where they went
language in
back to
it.
the West, the
I
Wild
was
West.
surprised. I didn't remember the S-bombs when I
Yeah,
was
I
younger and
know.
then we showed our kids and they were like 6 and I'm like,
Because
oh.
it wasn't that big of a deal for us apparently
Yeah.
back then.
Well.
Today is also International Nacho Day. It's
I'll
Nacho Day.
Oh, it is.
What do you like on your nachos?
I'm kind of a boring nacho girl. I kind of like it to look like a taco. So
Meat.
the yeah, and beans
Okay.
and sour cream and maybe some yeah,
You know
cheese.
the best nachos, and don't hate me, people, and don't start.
Uh-oh.
You can send me restaurants,
You
but
like
I will tell you
spicy
this.
nachos, like
I love
jalapenos and
jalapenos,
yeah.
but I will tell you this: there has never been a moment, and I know that it's terrible, and I haven't had it for a very long time. But if I'm craving nachos, I just go to 7-Eleven. Honestly, like I go to
I can't
7-Eleven, I
I
get
don't
their
know you.
nachos.
I can't be your friend right now. To eat food at 7-Eleven?
The
Who eats
nachos,
7-Eleven food? No, no.
stoners.
That's like asking
I
for a night in the bathroom. Don't ever eat at
actually
7-Eleven.
do not knock 7-Eleven nachos.
You
I'm
know what
just telling
7-Eleven is
you,
for?
they're
Uh,
bomb.
the drink cooler and a lottery ticket. That is what 7-Eleven is for.
You
It
know,
is
they probably
not
don't even
for
clean
food.
the drinks, the little soda machine, so, I mean, I don't know if they do
No,
or
like, I'll get
whatever.
an iced tea out of the cooler, whatever.
Oh,
It's for, you know,
I see,
you don't
whatever.
eat the food.
Don't judge me. I'm just saying their
Judging you.
nachos are bomb. When you go there at 1 o'clock, two
I
o'clock in the
think
morning,
my
and you're in the
opinion is really
mood,
changing
that
right now.
that
Yeah.
neon cheese and those jalapenos that have probably been sitting in that pickled bucket for 24 hours,
Yeah.
delicious. It's absolutely delicious.
Enjoy your
Speak
evening on the throne.
my well, whatever. What other place to hang out? It's a great place. Keeping it in the food realm. Have you ever been to Bob's Donuts in San Francisco?
No, I've been to the one where it's donuts in the morning and sushi in the afternoon, or Chinese food in the afternoon. Happy Donuts. They'll
I've
give you
never
donuts
eaten
at
there
one
before.
point of the day and then Chinese food
Really?
in this. Yeah. So they do both, which is
That
great.
sounds
'Cause
like
some people
something I
don't
would
want donuts all
love.
day. So yeah,
I wonder if the oil that they use, you know what I'm saying? Like, do they switch
don't
the
go
oil so
there.
your donuts kinda smell
Mm-mm.
like,
Don't think about it.
Chinese
Just eat
food?
it.
Okay, just eat it.
See,
Well, Bob's
as long as
Donuts
it's not 7-Eleven, you're okay.
pshaw. Okay, so Bob's Donuts has been around since 1960.
Ah,
It's a 24/7 donut shop, okay? So,
okay.
apparently it's the go-to place. It stays open 24/7 for all those late night munchies, okay? They're going to be expanding. They're opening another shop in Mill Valley in the next month or so, and then they're coming in my neck of the woods to Santana Row. That's next summer in 2023. Now, the owners are the On family, and they wanted to operate 24/7 at the new locations, but apparently the rules won't let them. So at Santana Row, they want to stay open until 30 minutes after the last bar closes. And then in Mills Valley, the soft opening hours are 5 a.m. until 5 p.m. and hoping to expand to 9 p.m. What's your favorite donut?
I'm very boring. I like the glazed old fashioned, but I have to tell you, and this talk about bad for you. I
Mm.
really like the Oreo filled Krispy Kreme,
Ooh,
or
really?
I do enjoy that one. And I at Dunkin' Donuts, I just like it's got chocolate on top and the white cream inside.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mm,
it's so
that's a
bad for
good
you.
that
But just like
they're
General
donuts,
Donuts,
though.
oh my
Yeah,
god, I once went to the Nugget Market in Davis, and they had these
okay.
oversized donuts. I mean, they're like donuts on
The size of your head.
steroids.
Right.
Yeah, and dinner plate donuts, right? And it was this one that looked like it was dipped in chocolate and then rolled in mini chocolate chips. So
Ooh.
good. Yeah.
Yes. I'm not a huge chocolate person. I like it, but it's not my first. But if I had to choose something that I could just sit there and eat all day, are just plain chocolate donut holes from Dunkin' Donuts. Like, that was my childhood growing up. And so if I'm gonna get something, I don't like a gigantic donut. I just love a bunch of donut holes. Like, it just hits the spot with the big old glass of milk. But you mentioned Krispy Kreme. McDonald's is teaming up with Krispy Kremes. Did you
I
hear
heard
this?
that.
I
Yeah.
know. So apparently it's not in our area. They're going to on they announced this on October 18th that 3 of their donuts, the original glazed, including the original glazed, will be offered in Louisville, Kentucky and the surrounding areas. And then starting on Wednesday, you can grab, if you're in the area, an original glazed, a chocolate iced with sprinkles, and the raspberry filled donut. So they don't have that cookie and cream one that you like. But yeah, A McDonald's, I mean, I feel like that would definitely bump up their drive-through traffic.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you'd offer
I mean, if
Krispy
you need
Kreme.
yeah.
Oh, oh,
Because their
that
Krispy Kremes aren't really, you kinda have to drive to them. They're not everywhere. McDonald's are
no.
everywhere. So, we have a lot of
Yeah.
texts coming in.
All right.
Stan's Donuts in Santa Clara, a shout
Yes,
out for
heard
them.
that, yes.
Uh, someone just called simply YouTube user says they like custard filled.
Mm.
Ricardo says, "My Bob's favorite is glazed chocolate with coconut flakes." Alright.
Ooh, okay.
RL
Fancy.
likes the maple bar with cream filling. And Perry Joe Jim Bob is all for the apple fritters.
Oh, my husband likes apple fritters. He likes the is it a cruller? A cruller? Something like that? I don't know. He likes
Mm.
that type of donut. I'm a simple plain Jane donut hole kinda donut eater. Someone was mentioning in my neck of the woods, crullers, French crullers. That's what my
Oh,
husband likes.
crullers, so good.
Yeah,
They're so soft. By the way,
Baskin
this is a perfect
donuts.
moment
And
as we're talking about the chat line to click that like button.
oh, yes.
Just
Exercise the
bing,
bum.
click it,
Yes,
click it.
please, please, please hit subscribe, hit the bell, and definitely hit that thumbs up. Just once. If you hit it twice, it goes away. So hit it once,
Oh,
and we really, really appreciate all of the help that we get.
here's a whole nother conversation. John
Mm,
Smith is asking if we know what a Leonard's Malasada is. Yes, I do.
I
That would
don't
be
know what that
you
is.
go to Leonard's in Hawaii, and they
Okay.
have malasadas that are, I mean, they're indescribable, out of this world. You put it in your mouth, and it's like nothing ever. I mean, that sounds dirty, but it's not. It's so good.
Where's
Oh
Craig when
god,
we need you? I swear to God.
so
Craig would always
god.
pull our lines that were really, really funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never heard of that, but I'm going to Hawaii next year, and
Okay.
so I'll
What
definitely have
island?
Kauai?
I don't think you're going to be
No,
able
no,
to
no.
get.
Kanapali. I'm going to Kanapali.
Okay, that's on Maui. So
Okay.
you might be able to find a Leonard's there. I'll look it up for you, but you
Okay, good.
definitely have to go to Ululani's. Ululani's
Ululani's.
is a shave ice place like no other. And
Mm.
I'll give you the list of all
Yeah,
the
you're
places
gonna
you
give
have
me
to
a
go
whole
on
list.
Maui.
Kim
Yeah.
McAllister is like the Hawaii expert that we
Yeah.
have on the show.
Rosie
Um,
likes the maple bar with bacon. Mm.
has anyone ever been to see, that's starting to get into like my Psycho Donuts. Anyone heard of Psycho Donuts? We have that down here. And they have all these crazy creations. A lot of them have some bacon and all sorts of, doodads, and they're gigantic. Cereal, all kinds of stuff. I've gone
Okay.
there once. But they just look, pardon me, so good. Okay, who bought tickets to go see Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock?
You did.
I did. What's funny is in the past year, we saw both of them. But my husband and I decided, you know what, it's going to be an early Christmas present to each other. Like, this is all we can really afford this year. So we probably got off a little cheap. But yeah, so you mentioned this in your news yesterday. Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, they are going to be teaming up. And I like it because when I saw Dave Chappelle, it wasn't his traditional stand up because he was reacting and he was showing off the documentary he had done regarding COVID. And then he was reacting to the blowout, the blowback from his Closer Netflix special. So it's kind of on that realm. And then with Chris Rock, I saw him right after the slap. So it was kind of like these two topics really were overshadowing, I would have to say. And so I'm hoping that it's more kind of the traditional stand up, although I'm sure they're going to be mentioning stuff like that. But they're playing together at the SAP Center in my neck of the woods on Saturday, December 10th, and then Sunday at the Chase Center in San Francisco. And if you're in the Sacramento area, they're playing December 12th. Both of them on stage together, I just couldn't pass
That's a
it up.
sellout. It's a total sellout.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and think about, we're not talking about the punchline over here. We are talking about the SAP Center, the Chase Center. You're talking about thousands and thousands of people. So these guys are just raking it in. This whole idea about cancel culture, not so much Chris Rock, but Dave Chappelle, give me a friggin' break. They're not canceled at all. Okay, so we're coming up on bottom of the hour news. Again, hit that like button right now while you're looking at your YouTube channel. Just hit the thumbs up. Again, big thanks to Steve Moskowitz, our tax attorney. He is our exclusive and sole sponsor of the show. But if you want to support this show in other ways, just go to the NikkiMedoroShow.com. And right there is a link to our Patreon. It gives Kim some money. It gives me some money. It lets us expand the show. I was listening to Mark's show, and he's in a bunch of things that I have planned in my head as well, a bunch of meetups. I want to do some special Patreon only, maybe videos or shows or interviews, but all of that takes time and money. And so that's why we're really trying to push the Patreon and other ways to donate to the show. Someone was also talking about in the chat room, the super chat. And that's something that we hope to launch next week. Once we need about 1,000 more watched hours, which isn't a lot. We'll probably get there by next week, if not by Monday. And once we do that, in the super chat, you can just donate whatever amount you want to. And people have been very, very generous on Mark's show. And I would love it if it happened here as well, because this is a way that we can continue to grow the show. And I know I keep saying it, but it's just what we need just at the beginning to really get this kicked off really, really soon. Another reminder, next hour, we will talk about ageism in the workplace. I also want to get into Elon Musk. So Kim, it's quite the report that Elon Musk, I mean, he's going to be gutting Twitter, basically.
Yep.
He reportedly will be laying off 75% of the Twitter staff after he purchases it. That is just going to change Twitter as we know it. I mean, the safeguards in place, what the platform allows on and doesn't allow on could be completely different. I don't understand what his motivation is. You want to know the first thing that popped into my mind, though? He wants to kill it. He wants to kill it off. I don't know why you'd want to spend that much money for something that you are basically destroying, but laying off 75% of Twitter staff, what other reason could there be to do something like that?
I mean, okay, so maybe there's always a way to trim the fat, right?
75%?
That's not the fat. What you're trimming then is you're cutting into the actual product, I think.
Yes.
I was dinged earlier by someone who said, well, Kim, you just don't understand the way business works and, the bottom line. And when you're an investor, you have to.
Get it.
Yeah, okay. But still, I mean,
75% though.
at Station X, we went through some pretty harsh cutbacks before they finally cut it all completely. And I'll tell you that at the beginning, okay, we could afford to lose some of those folks. And then as they started to cut and cut and cut, all of a sudden you saw us doing, one person doing the job of 4 or 5 people. And
for the same pay.
But there's no way that, I mean, regardless of pay, there's no way that that's not going to affect your quality.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Somebody had reacted on Twitter about this news and asked a simple question. If Elon Musk charges like $2.99 a month to use Twitter, would you pay it and use it? And a lot of people are saying, hell no, because of what you were just talking about. What's getting cut? Is it the people that are going to be moderating the site? Is it going to turn into something like Parler, where it just is a racist cesspool of hateful comments a lot of time, or conspiracies? Twitter, I was a little slow on the uptake. I mean, I've been on it for a long time now, but given when it started to when I joined, but as a journalist being in the news, I was a reporter at the time when I joined. It was honestly revolutionary in the ability to get information out there and also get information from, let's say, the police or from politicians. Former President Barack Obama was one of his kind of nicknames was the Twitter president because he used Twitter unlike anybody else that had been running for president and really tapped in to that social media network to reach people where they are in real time. And I just don't know what Elon Musk is going to do, but I do think you cut 75% of the staff, Twitter as we know it will not be the same. There's just absolutely no way that it's going to.
And that's really what people on the text line or the chat line are saying too. Robert says, sounds like Mr. Musk is trying to do a number on Twitter like Cumulus did to Station X. Possibly. Ren says Musk's anti-democracy. He moved to Texas so he could avoid contributing money to the community through taxes. I mean, Ren, I would think that's his prerogative to do so, but it sure seems like he didn't want to pay his fair share here. Karen says, don't forget about Trump and Twitter. He was the Twitter president.
Yeah, I mean, he loved that platform, absolutely. I was more mentioning Obama in the way that he campaigned using Twitter and reached people, but
Yeah.
absolutely. And the fact that, Twitter kicked Trump off and then he has tried to make Truth Social a thing. I'm wondering if I mean, this is all just who knows, but get rid of Twitter and then Truth Social can maybe come up, or Twitter will turn into a type of Parler or
Well,
Truth
and
Social. I
that's
don't
what
know.
Anonymous is writing. Some buyouts are for the IP of the software, not for the employees. So they
Yeah.
want the technology. They don't really want the company as it is currently.
And all that data and all of our information that Twitter just happens to have about us. It's nuts. And if it goes that bad, I won't be on Twitter anymore. I mean, there's just no way if for us to communicate on Twitter the way we currently do, if it turns into something like Parler or Truth Social. Coming up after Kim's news right here. Um, Speaking of social media, did you see that woman? She's giving interviews because she did survive, that was gored by a buffalo. I'll have that video. I'll show you that. Also, any contact lens wearers out there, this next story will also, oh
Ew.
my God, horrify you. And another recommendation by the CDC when it comes to COVID, that's also coming up. But right now, it's time for news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
On the Nikki Medoro Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Former President Trump is being called to testify before Congress. The House committee investigating last year's Capitol attack is formally issuing a subpoena for him to provide relevant documents and appear before the panel after the midterm elections in November. A top Federal Reserve official is raising concerns about the ability to find workers. Here we are, right here. New York Fed President John Williams saying filling jobs can be a real challenge. In the current economic environment, he noted that the skills gap is a major problem in filling entry-level positions, particularly in construction and in nursing as well. You talked a little about that yesterday. The FBI is out with a warning that foreign hackers may target American organizations leading up to the midterm elections. The Bureau says a group tied to the Iranian government is a threat to the country because it's currently active again. American organizations could be targeted, they say. A statue of slain civil rights figure Emmett Till is being unveiled today in Greenwood, Mississippi. The monument will honor the 14-year-old boy who was kidnapped and murdered in 1955. He later became the catalyst for the civil rights movement. A man who once defeated the Texas Rangers in the World Series is now joining that baseball franchise. Bruce Bochy was given a 3-year contract to be the team's manager. Bochy led, of course, the San Francisco Giants to the World Series title in 2010 over the Rangers before going on to win 2 more titles with the Giants in 2012 and 2014. And geologists from Cal Berkeley used a certain type of rock analysis to get a more clear answer on when Central California's Yosemite Valley was formed. According to Forbes, they collected samples of the valley's granite and they studied the level of helium trapped inside the minerals that make up the rock. Based on that study, the geologists concluded much of Yosemite Valley's massive depth was carved since 10 million years ago, and most likely even more recently over the past 5 million years. That cuts off the oldest estimates by about 40 million years. So we're learning a little bit more. Pfizer planning to charge at least $110 for the COVID vaccine next year. A company official saying during an investor call that it expects to quadruple the price after the U.S. government's purchasing program comes to an end next year. The company still in talks, though, with insurance carriers, but a sure price will still make the vaccine accessible. Would you pay for it? Oh. $110 to not get the COVID or to not get hospitalized or die, at least if you get the COVID, because you can still get sick if you get the vaccine, but you probably just won't get as sick, right?
Yeah,
Or
exactly. That's
die.
the point.
Yeah. I'll pay $110 for that. You better
Yeah,
believe
yeah.
it. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz for more than 30 years. Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. If you need help with your taxes, please give Steve a call, 888 Tax Deal, or you can reach him online at MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kim. And yes, please support our sponsor, Steve Moskowitz. He has stepped in from day one to support our show. Also, please right now click that thumbs up right below this video for our show. Like every single show, every single day, my show, Mark Thompson Show, it helps with the exposure. And if you can financially support the show in any way, any amount, go to thenikkimedoroshow.com. Our Patreon link is right there, and we really, really appreciate it. All right, as promised. Now look, I like social media. I like interacting with all of you on social media. I'm on social media a lot, especially now that I've launched this show on YouTube. I understand wanting clicks and likes and to reach people. Believe me, it's fun. It's fun to watch these sorts of videos. I also understand the allure, right? You're someplace that maybe not a lot of people are, and you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to take a video and show people this. I mean, we were hearing those horror stories of people taking the selfies and falling down the Grand Canyon or something like that, right? You don't want to do something just for clicks and likes. You don't want to clout chase so much that it kills you. Well, that's pretty much what almost happened to this woman. So she's hiking and she is walking past a bunch of buffalo. And so instead of going through the bushes, which apparently she had done before, she decides that she's going to walk a little too close to them. So now she took this video that you're going to see.
I love
Walking
when they say,
past.
watch till the end.
You're like, all right, so here we go.
Keep going. I don't want to deal with them. I just want to go by. Come on, keep going. I just want to get by, okay? Thank you. I appreciate it. Didn't want to go through the bushes again.
The buffalo are not your friend.
Look at them. Look how close she is.
They're like, no, thank you. Oh, there we go.
Oh my God. So she landed. The buffalo gored her. She gave an interview. She's fine. She spent obviously some time in the hospital.
Would she lose a kidney? Where'd it gore her?
Just
Chest?
her skin. No, her skin, her back.
Oh.
It got just her skin. She's like, it could have been my spine. It could have been an organ. I mean, it left a huge hole, she said, in her back. She laid face down in that like prickly bush for an hour. I mean, obviously she had her phone on her, which was good. And yeah, she had to have a bunch of surgery, but she's saying, and a lot of people are saying, stop doing things like this for social media clicks. One person said, do you know how close, just guess how close you should be if you see a bison? Guess how many feet away?
I'm going to say a couple hundred.
Yeah, well, they say at least 100, at least 100 feet away from the bison. She was what? I don't know, not even 25, maybe 25 feet away from that bison. I don't know. She looked way too close. Not only that, stop talking. If you're going to pass the bison,
be very quiet.
Like, oh, thank you.
What's that cartoon? Be very, very quiet.
Be very, very quiet. Don't pass the bison and start doing your, TikTok video, you dumbass. But
Karen Cooper writes, you get gored by a buffalo, you're way too close. Not unusual in Yellowstone. People don't know how dangerous wild animals can be. Dumb. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like when they roll down their window, they're in a car and they roll down the window and the animal sticks its head in and then just tries to attack them. Like,
you've seen the people that do that with bears too. They're like, oh, look, a bear. And they turn their back to the animal to take a selfie with a bear. It's like, I mean,
last moments. Exactly.
That's what do they say? Darwin Awards,
Yeah.
I mean, for stupidity. Come on.
I mean,
there goes your genes out of the pool and probably a good thing.
Well, I don't want to say that this person's dumb. Well, I'm saying this person's kind of dumb. So apparently, this woman goes into her ophthalmologist with the California Eye Associates in Newport Beach. She says, doc, I just can't see clearly. I don't know what's wrong. I've got this eye pain. It's blurry. I don't know. So like maybe it's an infection. Maybe you have a scratched cornea. She found 23 contact lenses lodged in the woman's right eye. So apparently the woman forgot and repeatedly forgot that she had been not taking out her contact lenses in the morning or the night whenever she switches them out. She says while she's unsure how exactly the patient forgot to remove nearly a month's worth of contact lenses, one possible culprit is the patient may have become desensitized to the feeling of contacts. This is caused by wearing them over so many years and is typical for frequent contact lens wearers. I don't wear contact lenses. I don't need glasses yet. Any contact lens wearer out there? I know people. One of my best friends wore them her whole life. It was a habit at night. You took your contact lenses off and you put them in the little circle thing.
And he
Isn't that
says,
a
this is
habit?
like a stack of pancakes that they're said.
Oh,
Do we
yeah,
have
like
the picture?
I'm trying to find it. Let me see. Does this
Because,
have the
oh my
picture?
God, it's like, I don't know how you have that many in your eye and
No.
not know. Because, I mean, maybe I could say 3 or 4, and then you're like, oh, something feels weird, right? But
Yeah,
this many, it seems like, how could you even look at someone's eye and not go, I think you've got something sticking out of your eyeball there.
exactly. I mean, I have
It's
here.
not quite
I'm
right.
here we go. Okay, I'm going to share this with you. I think that I'm pretty sure that this is the actual contact lenses that she had. Here. Is that it? That looks
Yep.
like it. Oh
Oh,
my
God.
God.
Okay, get that picture off. No, 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 no.
I mean, it's crazy. How do
Ew,
you
that's so
forget?
gross. It just
And they
gives
were
me the
green.
ease.
Were
Yeah.
they green because of the color or because they'd been on her eyes for so long? I have no idea. It was really,
John
really gross.
John is chatting in. I like glasses. I look cool with glasses. Suddenly I think
Yeah.
I like glasses too. Yeah.
I You don't forget to take the glasses off of your face, right? I don't know if I could do contact lenses. I'm not great at touching my eye.
Yeah.
So if you're not used to it, I know that's the hardest part. I've wanted to try, although I've heard they're bad for you, especially around Halloween, like the colored contacts to make yourself look kind of scary or
Yeah.
spooky. Remember Thriller, Michael Jackson? That was like they did a whole documentary of how he changed his
It's
eyes.
not worth it to me to tamper with my eyeball.
I have an eye thing. I had when I was a kid, like in 8th grade, I kept getting styes in my eye. And, I went to the doctor. And it's one of those things where you go to the doctor and you think the doctor's just gonna tell you one thing, and then they tell you something completely different. So I go there, and if my dad's watching, he's gonna totally start laughing 'cause there's a joke in my family that my dad's not the person you want with you at the hospital because he's not that sensitive to your pain. Like, he's like, "Ah, suck it up. You're fine." I go there. Again, I'm 13 years old, and I have a sty here on my top eyelid, and I have one on the bottom right here on the inside corner.
Oh, that was
And
attractive in junior high.
oh my
That's
I
what you
mean,
want.
I have a school picture with them. It's awful. It was awful, okay? And I mean, I was trying hot compresses, I was trying everything, they just wouldn't go away. And so I go to the doctor, and he's like, "Well, we'll have to lance them."
Oh,
Okay? Now I don't know what the hell lancing means,
like
right?
Dr. Pimple Popper.
Yeah, but the Dr. Pimple Popper didn't exist in whatever the early 90s. And so I go there. I am in his office. I mean, if you walk like 5 feet outside his door, there's the waiting room. Okay. I'm not like I'm hospital, but not hospital, right? And I'll never forget. I'm laying in my school uniform because I wore a uniform, and I'm laying in this chair, and he has to take a needle to numb my eyelid. Now, the terrible thing about the eye is that you're watching the whole thing happen, and he's just coming at me with the needle, and I'm screaming bloody murder. Like, anybody in the waiting room probably wanted to leave because they had no idea. And then they take this tool that has like a circle in the middle that the sty is supposed to be on, and he just puts it on my eye and he pulls it down and he just
Boom.
slices it open.
Oh,
And
gross.
I've had an eye thing since then. So I don't necessarily want anything with my eyes.
Uh,
And if I mean, I'll try anything, but I'm never going back to the doctor to get my eye lanced ever again. I don't know. I think I'll just live with it then. It's just awful, awful,
yeah,
awful,
I think
awful.
so. We got a funny chat from Lake. Buffaloes are not fluffy cows, he says.
No, they are not. Although they do look cute, and I get it, but no, they're not. It's just like is it the emu or no, I think it's the ostrich that's very a mean bird
Oh,
and they're
yeah.
quick.
Ostriches are
You know what I
really
mean? Like you
they can
do
pick
not
you
want to
and do
mess
some
with them.
damage. Right.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, it's just wildlife is wild. It's literally in the name. Leave them alone. Keeping it in the medical realm a little bit. Apparently, COVID vaccine should be part of the routine immunization, according to the CDC, adding it to the list of recommended shots for 2023. Um,
People are fighting against this. It's like, and
yeah,
it just because it's on the schedule doesn't mean you have
doesn't
to
mean you need to
get
be
it. Right.
exactly.
But
Um,
it does mean that states can say, if you don't have everything on the schedule, you may not be able to have, register your child for public school and gain entry. Right.
Exactly. And that I think is the rub.
Mhm.
I know people even before COVID that literally left the state of California and moved to other states because they did not want to get their kids vaccinated. I'm learning a lot about vaccines I got as a kid. So for instance, shingles and chickenpox and things like that.
Mm.
So I know somebody that has shingles right now. So I'm learning a lot about it. And so our age, Kim, as we were discussing it, because we had chicken pox as kids, we can get shingles later on in life. But my kids have never had chicken pox because they got vaccinated against chicken pox. And so they don't have to worry about that necessarily.
This
And
is my
so,
question about that.
uh,
If you got the chickenpox vaccine, I guess it
uh-huh.
depends on whether it was a live or attenuated virus used in the vaccine, then wouldn't it go to follow to reason that
Mhm.
you then do have the chickenpox virus in your system, and then maybe that you would still be able to get shingles at an older age? I
Right.
don't know how
It's,
it works. We
it's,
need to ask a doctor.
well, I've been Google. I've gone to Doctor
Your
Google, which I know I
Dr.
shouldn't
Google.
do. Yeah,
What
I
does Dr.
shouldn't do
Google
that.
say?
Well, doctor says it's possible for people who had chickenpox vaccination to get shingles because it is the same virus, but it's not as necessarily likely. I guess. I guess there's a 70. Okay, here it is. Kids who were vaccinated against chickenpox had a 78% lower risk.
Oh,
78% of developing shingles. So it's not 100,
I
but
like
it's
that though. That's
significantly
good.
lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but if you have had chicken pox, you should
Then
get your
what's your risk?
shingles, then you have to get your shingles vaccination so that you don't get shingles.
But if you
And
had
then
chicken pox, what is the chances that you get shingles if you didn't get a shingles
ooh, I don't
vaccine?
know. Like anybody? Okay, so let's see.
I
That's a good
wonder.
question. I mean, I think that you're just really at risk of
Well, you
getting
have to,
it later in
you
life.
look at the numbers before you decide if you're gonna get that vaccine, right? Or you just go get the vaccine.
Well, they advise you similar
Go get
to,
it.
the immunization, recommendations to go get your shingles vaccine. And I've heard some people, I mean,
It's
not to not
miserable.
get it, but yeah,
It can be a
that
bad
it's not
one.
fun.
I have
Yeah.
a friend whose grandmother had it, and I mean, it was on her eyelids and inside her mouth. Just
Oh,
gross. Not
I
what
had
you want at
ter
all.
I had terrible chicken pox as a kid because I grew up. So it must have been like 1980. I'm assuming I got chicken pox. I think I was like 2. My brother was 4. And we did the whole, oh, your brother has chicken pox. Go hang out in the room with him. And that's how I got
Mm-mm.
chicken pox. Shingles develops in about 10% of people who have had chicken pox at an earlier time in their life. So, I
Taking your
mean,
chances.
taking your
I think
chances.
I've
So there
told
you
you
go.
this story before, but when I was in kindergarten in
Mhm.
Novato, actually, there was a little boy in my kindergarten class who got chickenpox and then died of the complication of chickenpox. So
Oh
one
my
of my
God.
kindergarten classmates passed away.
That's awful.
I
That
know.
is awful.
You think chickenpox just some, a rash on you, some boils or whatever it looks like, open sores,
No.
some scratch,
Yeah.
some itching for a time, but it can do other things as well. So when that chickenpox vaccine came around, I did not,
Mess around.
yeah, got that right
No.
away for the kids.
My kids are fully vaccinated against everything. So yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's one of those things that I believe in. Everyone needs to make their own decision. But yeah, I think that your point about putting it on the immunization list is right on. That some schools perhaps are gonna make it so well, you're not fully vaccinated, so you can't come here. The
What do you
Supreme
think
Court. No, go ahead.
What do you think about that? Do you think kids should be required to have the COVID vaccine before they go to school? Because even if you can get COVID with the vaccine, you are less likely to. And so then does it make school a safer environment? Or is it just keeping kids out of school whose parents are a little
Mm.
anti-vaxxer woo woo? And so we do the kids a disservice. I don't know how I feel about it.
I don't know how I feel about it either. And I think it's only because we live in 2022, right? And we went through that stupid pandemic and we're still going through it. Here's the thing. If there was a measles outbreak, I would be happy that my kid had the measles vaccine.
Yep.
If there was any sort of outbreak with another vaccine before COVID, I would be like, oh, great, my kid's vaccinated. I don't need to
Yeah.
worry about it. But because the COVID has become this whole, politicized issue, all of a sudden, I'm not supposed to care about that. Now, I think the thing that we need to remember, though, Kim, because it is true, is while it's not 0% death, kids do not have as big of a reaction necessarily to COVID as, let's say, if they got measles and I got measles, it could be kind of a similar reaction. For some reason, older people with underlying health conditions seem to have a harder time contracting COVID than young children do. So does that need to be factored into the whole thing? Because, okay, they may have it, but did you die kind of thing? But it's the contagion of it all also. Teachers, staff, I mean, they come in all ages and health
You gotta think
conditions.
about everybody. I'll tell
You
you
have to
when
think about
that
everyone.
vaccine came out and finally we were able to get kids vaccinated, because it was a while until kids were involved in that,
Yeah.
equation. When I was finally able to get both my kids vaccinated, I felt relief.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I mean,
I wanted to make sure that if they did get COVID, which in the classroom, every 5 minutes you're getting another, got a close contact, there's another email coming from the school. So I
absolutely.
felt like, okay, well, even if they get it, at least that the disease is not going to be as severe. The
Right.
reaction isn't gonna. So I was relieved.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get my booster yesterday. We've been dealing with some health issues in our house. And so we just were kind of putting them off for a little bit, but I'm rescheduled my booster appointment. I want to be protected as much as possible because I'm not a young kid. And I think you just need to follow the best advice from your doctor, not Dr. Google, right? I mean, you can Dr. Google all the things you want to, but then go talk to the experts because they know what's what. Speaking of experts, guess who is here with us? He is the expert that you want to listen to and talk to and call if you have any sort of tax problem. And that is the one, the only, Steve Moskowitz. Steve, you are the man that I will recommend day in, day out, because there is Tax Google as well, Steve. You know all about that. And Tax Google doesn't know all the answers that you know, correct?
And Tax Google has a lot of wrong information in there and
Uh-oh.
outdated information in there. And especially with the ERC, it's changed so much. When I look at it, I say, oh, that used to be the law, but now it's the opposite. Oh, that used to be the law, but you can't do it. Oh, that used to be,
Right.
and that's wrong. And look at this, and that's wrong, and that's wrong. And, and some of the information is right too, but you have to know which is which, like a physician looking at something, knowing, well, this is poisonous and this is fine. And with ERC, it's such an opportunity for employers because the federal government is paying up to $26,000 for every employee that you have that qualifies. And here there's a lot of problem with qualifications. There's the easy way and the not so easy way. The easy way is if your gross revenue dropped by a certain amount, that's it, you're in, nothing to talk about. But a lot of firms are stopping there. And they're saying, well, if you gross revenue didn't go down, that's it, no ERC for you. There's another way, because the law says either or. The other way is called full or partial closure. And what that means is that if you had certain restrictions, like in California, there was a statewide mandate from the beginning of the pandemic until June 15th of 2021, that you could only use the inside of your business 25%. So even an essential business like Safeway could only use 25% of their store. That may qualify you. Supply chain disruptions. So we'll actually take, and not everybody qualifies, but we'll actually go ahead and take the time and figure out if you qualify. If you don't qualify, we'll say, look, you don't qualify and here's why. If you do qualify, we'll go ahead and tell you about that too. And we want to take every dollar to which you're legally entitled, whether it's the easy method or it's the more complicated method. On the other hand, the IRS has been warning about there's some firms, for example, there's some pop-ups that just came into existence just to do ERC. And when they're finished, they're going to fold their tents and disappear. And when the IRS has some questions, they're not going to be around. And there's so much fraud going on with some companies that the IRS is acting on that. Now, we're a law firm, and we've been around for over 30 years. And you want to avoid both wrong actions. Certainly, you don't want to turn your back on potentially a lot of money because somebody is not looking at the more complicated method and will do the work. On the other hand, obviously, you don't want to do any fraud on any part of your tax return. You would never want to claim something you weren't legally entitled to. You have to know the difference. Think of it like this. You're out in the woods starving and you see some mushrooms. Now, some mushrooms are perfectly good and tasty.
Some will make you have some fun.
Mushrooms will kill you. They're poisonous.
Yes, they
That's
will.
why you want to go to somebody that says, these are the good mushrooms, eat them, and those mushrooms, don't touch them, they'll kill you.
All right. I mean, Steve, you are the guy to call. Anybody that calls, you know, they are going to get the most up-to-date, accurate information. They don't need to worry about it. And even if something does come up and the government wants to get a hold of them, you'll be the middleman. You'll handle it. All of those decades of experience pay off. Give Steve a call, 888-TAX-DEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com. Steve, thank you so much.
Thanks, Nikki.
Thank you. Yeah, he's the guy to call, man. I mean, what the deadline just passed earlier this week to for the tax extension. I had all kinds of tax questions. I'm tapping Steve for the answers to all of my questions, and you should too. Again, Steve Moskowitz, 888-TAX-DEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com. And supporting him is a way to support the show. Again, if you're watching this right now, please click that like button. It's the thumbs up. Click it once. Also click the subscribe and the bell to be notified right next to it so you don't miss a show. If you can help us in other ways financially, we really, really appreciate it. Just go to the NikkiMedoroShow.com. There's a link to our Patreon. Thank you so much to everybody that's been donating to the show, and it'll only lead to bigger and better things as we expand and bring more features onto the show. Okay, so coming up, we'll have a bit of news with Kim McAllister, and then I'm really excited about this next feature. So one of my viewers / listeners, Gayla Schiff, reached out to me when we were talking about being laid off, looking for another job, reinventing yourself. And she had a story about ageism in the workplace. And then one of our old colleagues at Station X reached out and was listening to the show. He says, I know all about this as well. And I love hearing from people from different walks of life weigh in on an issue that can impact any of us at any given moment. I mean, sometimes you can see the writing on the wall. I mean, was the Station X thing a huge surprise? Yes and no. This business is tough. And so anybody that works in broadcasting, radio, television, you know that this can happen. But all of a sudden, I don't know, some guy buys your company and lays off 75% of the workforce, and you need to figure out what you're going to do next. It can be difficult depending on where you are in life. So coming up after the news, we're going to have a roundtable discussion, and I invite all of you to weigh in on the live chat, and we'll talk about ageism in the workplace. What have you experienced? What have these women experienced? Is it easier for certain groups of people? It hasn't been easy for a lot of people just exiting college to get a job that pays them enough to afford any sort of lifestyle. Older people, is it easy to reinvent yourself at that age? So that's coming up. But right now, of course, we do need to take a look at the news with Kim McAllister.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Sorry, I'm having a problem with my mute button there. Hi, I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-DEAL. The congressional committee investigating last year's Capitol attack is out with a subpoena for former President Donald Trump. The panel also asked for him to turn over relevant documents by November 4th. A letter to the former president noting they want former President Trump to participate in one or more days of deposition testimony beginning on or about November 14th. The panel saying Trump was at the center of the first and only effort by any U.S. president to overturn an election and obstruct the peaceful transfer of power. It is unclear if Trump will appear or possibly take the Fifth Amendment to avoid answering any questions there. Emergency room visits by adult sexual assault victims have skyrocketed in recent decades. In what is described as a landmark study published yesterday, researchers reported that emergency room visits by adults who were actually assaulted shot up 3,600 in 2006 to more than 55,000 by 2019. Researchers at the University of Michigan say it's more than a 1,500% jump. They attribute this shocking rise in numbers to several factors, including more sexual assaults, obviously, and more awareness spurred by movements like Me Too. That study was published in JAMA Network Open. And President Biden says millions of Americans are set to benefit from his student loan forgiveness plan. Speaking at Delaware State University, President Biden said working folks and those in the middle class will see the most benefit from having their debt forgiven. He went after Republicans as well for opposing the plan, saying they are wrong and hypocritical for opposing it. His remarks coming after Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett denied an emergency bid by some Wisconsin taxpayers to block the debt forgiveness plan. Authorities on the peninsula here in the Bay Area investigating after a car was found buried in the yard of a very fancy upscale home. Landscapers found the car yesterday morning while working at a house in the town of Atherton. Police say this car was buried under 5 feet of dirt. It's believed to have been there since the 1990s, before the current owners moved in. Cadavers were brought in. They didn't find any human remains. They did find bags of concrete in that vehicle. The Atherton Police Department says it is investigating the motive and the circumstances surrounding this incident.
This is a crazy story. So first, obviously, dead body, right? They put a body in there, they filled it with cement, and they buried it in the backyard. The other thing that's not
Where's
as
the
dark.
body? There's no
Well, yeah,
body.
right. The other thing is they wanted the insurance on the car. Like, do we know what kind of car it is?
They didn't say. I don't think they
I mean,
said.
I'm wondering. I mean, what if somebody's like, I need money. I'm just gonna bury my car and say that it got stolen. I was gonna put a pool in, but screw it. I'll just put my car in
That's
there,
a lot
fill it up with
for a
concrete.
stolen car. I think it was. Here's my theory. Okay,
Okay, what
I
do you
think
think?
it was a vehicle involved in a run accident.
Okay.
See, so if
Ooh.
you sell it, someone can still track it back to who sold the vehicle. If you junk it, someone
Ah.
can find it, right? So it's probably a specific vehicle with
Mm.
specific damage that was all over the news. It was probably a hit and run crash. So they just, I mean, how much work do you have to go to bury a car 5
That's
feet deep in your
true.
yard? That's a lot
That's
of, you got to
true.
get a backhoe in there. I don't know.
But I mean, you had to have been doing something, and I know that the previous owner had, but the previous owner said a car had been stolen. That's where my mind went with that. But I
Okay.
mean, you'd have to be doing something in your backyard to not, draw up the attention of neighbors.
Well, it's
So
Atherton. So these are mansions and they probably spread far
mm,
apart with a lot of land.
that's true. That's true.
It's
That's
not
crazy.
like you
That's
live in a
crazy.
subdivision. You live in
Yeah.
fancy Atherton, you got a little something going on. Okay, how
Uh,
about this story?
mm.
Dozens of pilots are reporting unidentified flying sightings across the Pacific Ocean over the last 2 months. That according to Ben Hansen, a former FBI agent and the host of Discovery show UFO Witness. He has obtained new footage and air traffic control recordings that reveal baffled pilots struggling to describe their bizarre mid-air sightings. Compiled accounts from pilots from Southwest Airlines, Hawaiian Airlines, and others between August 6th and September 23rd. Last year, the Department of Defense launched the new group tasked with finding and identifying UFOs in restricted airspace after Washington officials admitted they could not explain the phenomena of UFO sightings.
Yeah, I was listening to one guy whose job
Doobie
was
doobie.
to kind of what is that in the sky, and he can explain a lot of them. Some of them he wasn't able to explain, but I think it's honestly this is what it is. It's aliens telling us that we're totally screwed, and they're trying to warn us.
They're coming to get us. That's it.
Don't vote
Party
red. I
over.
mean, come
We're
on.
taking
No, I
over,
know.
people.
It is
Clearly
interesting to
human,
me.
you have screwed up and showed you are incapable of handling the earth. We're
You're
coming to
done.
take it from you because you suck, right?
You're completely done. Yes, the virus that are human beings on this planet, you're done. I don't know, but I love the whole alien extraterrestrial aspect of the whole thing. So we'll see.
The news sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve, who we absolutely love, has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. So if you need help with your taxes, give Steve a call, 888-TAX, or check him online, moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
All right. Thanks for joining us on hour 2 of the Nikki Medoro Show. And we're doing something. And now this is our first week. And I would love to do more of these types of things. And it's a roundtable discussion about whatever issue, maybe a story idea you think we need to talk about that you can relate to. I do want to let you know that this show is sponsored exclusively by the one and only Steve Moskowitz. If you need tax help, find him online at moskowitzllp.com or 888-TAX-DEAL. While you're looking at the video, I was seeing in the chat room that some people can't seem to find the like button. I'm looking at the video where it says the Nikki Medoro Show and the date. Right below it, there is a thumbs up, and you just click that, and there you go. Under the description of the show, if you click the button that says show more, you'll see the links to our Patreon, our podcast, and the website as well. If you still can't find it, reach out to me at thenikkimedoroshow@gmail.com and I can walk you through it. But it's all just right there on the YouTube channel. And I appreciate everyone that has been supporting the show because we have made a huge life change continuing this show on this YouTube platform. It's not easy. I'm learning all sorts of new things. So is Kim. We're trying to make it work because we love what we do. We want to continue putting on a show and interacting with listeners and now viewers and doing it in this new kind of way, this 2022, even though YouTube's been around forever, this new way. And I think that it's going pretty well, but making a life or any sort of job change can be difficult. And it really can be made more difficult depending, honestly, on how old you are. You know, how much more time left do you have in the job market? Well, joining us now is one of our listeners, Gayla Schiff, and also one of our colleagues, Terry Hardesty from Hardesty Media. She worked with us at KGO. Hi, ladies. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Can you
So
hear me?
I can
Yep.
hear you. I can hear both
Can
of
you
you.
hear me?
Okay. So I can.
Okay,
We're
good.
all good. All right. So Gayla, I want to
Yeah.
start with you real quickly.
Yeah.
You were listening to the show
Yeah.
and you emailed me and you're like, oh, do I have a story to tell you? So kind of tell us, what have you experienced as someone that obviously has needed to make a job, a career, and a life change?
It's challenging to say the least. Getting like, I always get so passionate about it, you know. So, well, I can think of one recent experience that I had. I'm in the right now healthcare industry, and I was thinking, you know, I want to seek a new challenge, and why is because it was a change of industry coming into the healthcare from the entertainment industry. I was making easy money. Okay. I was working in a casino making easy money, and it was a lifestyle that you kind of get used to. Really easy money, really used to, really fast. Things changed, things happened, and you're over 50. I wasn't 55 at that point. I was like 53, 54. And I knew that I was at the tipping point of when things could really change fast, you know, in the competitive marketplace. Now, the marketplace, I'll be honest, is, I wouldn't, hard is an easy word. It's vicious out there, and it's really competitive. And even though, you know, even though a company can say they're desperate to hire, they will be competitive in who they choose. And they have they have the stake, so they have the edge, so they'll take their sweet time in hiring you. Getting back to it, so I was used to an easy money lifestyle, and when things happened, I had to just say, okay, let's get real. I'm not gonna get the money that I once had. Let's be real.
Okay.
And I gotta be frugal. Yeah, frugal. So I'm thinking, oh God. So and it's in this day and age, it's not what you know. No, it's who you know.
Right.
And so I got into the healthcare industry making, you're gonna be shocked at this, but about 40 grand less per hour. I mean 40 grand less per year.
Wow.
Yes.
Than what you were making
Yes.
in the casino.
Yes.
Wow.
40 grand less. And it hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts. And it hurts. And so I had to adjust fast. And so I did. And I know how I did it. I do. And I got adjusted to it. But
Well, how did you do it?
It's like I eliminated everything from my budget to be like the basics of food, my gas, the basics. That's it. I couldn't have the coach. I couldn't have the expensive all the this or that, and this and that. Okay, don't need. It's like, well, I'm just stuck with this. I'm living like I am when I was 19. What the heck?
Right.
Well,
I love that
you
you
were
mentioned that. I love that you mentioned you're living like you were when you were 19, because I
Yeah.
think that when you're in your 50s, you think I've paid my dues.
Yes.
I've set myself up for a certain sort of lifestyle. I
Yeah.
mean, talk about just the mind shift that you have to put yourself into to do it at a time in your life where you have a lot of life left.
Oh heck yeah. And people just seem to think that the stigma of 50. They have the stigma of 55, even 56. I'm 56, and I'm vibrant, I do CrossFit 5-6 days a week, I can lift heavy stuff, this and that, but they have the stigma. So anyways, moving forward, I recently had an interview for the Sonoma County. Okay. And if you work for a county, you get pension. Okay. And you get a lot of money, depends on where you work. Okay. Well, had the interview, right? But one of the reasons why they didn't hire me, I feel, is because they can't hire someone after a certain age bracket, because they have to give you 10 years for a pension. So they can't hire
Oh,
you after age 45, because after 55, that's it. So no matter if
but
you have
they're
the
not telling
skill,
you that. What are they
they
telling
can't.
you?
Oh, not at this time. Good luck.
Yeah, but you really feel that that's it. And so
Oh, that
so are you still in the healthcare field?
I
What are you
am.
doing right now? Okay.
I am. I'm working, yeah, at a local hospital. I am. I
And
am.
making ends meet. I mean, it's not easy to live in
Yes.
this area.
Yes. And making ends meet. Yes. It's disheartening. It's ruthless out there.
Yeah. Kim, did
Yeah.
you have a
So,
question for Gayla?
mm,
she really answered it. I was going to ask
Okay.
her how she felt that she was discriminated against by age, but she was talking about pension. But I wonder if just by virtue of appearance, so someone can tell you're not fresh out of college, and when you're fresh out of college,
oh,
those are the lower wages, right? So you get someone in there that maybe has a fresh perspective, and you can pay them less at starting out wages, and then you have someone who's coming in with more expectations and more experience. They're going to have to
mhm,
pay you more. So
Mhm.
for me, that I would feel like that would maybe where the age discrimination comes in. Oh, she's not a spring chicken. Look at her packing all this experience. And so maybe that's valuable in one way, but we don't want to pay for it, right?
Right. It's so difficult.
it is. It's no easy balance. There's just no balance, I feel. It's
Yeah.
just none. And maybe I'm, I don't know. Maybe it's just that's just the way it is. And it's not going to get any easier. It's
Well,
not.
Gayla, I'm really glad that we're also bringing into this conversation our friend and colleague over at Station X, Terry Hardesty. Terry,
Hey,
thank you
Terry
for coming on the
Hardesty.
show. You were actually listening, heard me teasing Gayla, and we're reaching out because you actually work to help older women get into the
Oh,
marketplace, get another job. You have a blog. It's called New Wrinkle Woman, and a website called midlifevision.com. So Terry, I mean, I am sure you have heard stories like Gayla's time and time again.
Oh yes, well, first of all, I was also laid off by Station X
Yeah.
when I was 50. And so I'm kind of like an example of the reinvention. So I knew I wasn't going to get back into broadcasting.
Why did you think that? I mean, you're a beautiful woman. I mean, 50 is 50, but I mean, did you give it a shot? Were you told? What was the experience like for you?
Well, I used to be a TV news reporter. I definitely did not want to get back into that because it's just,
It's brutal.
it's a hard work being a TV news reporter. And they're just, I moved around so many times when I was a broadcast news reporter. I was in markets all over, and I just am not willing to move again.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what you have to do because there's so few places in, the Bay Area, especially in radio.
Yeah.
Thus the wonderful podcast that you guys are putting together here. You guys have courage, and you're role models for older women. Although Nikki, I don't know how old you are, but
We're going to be in our mid 40s. It's fine.
okay.
It's
Yeah.
fine.
I mean, it's this ageism starts like at 40,
Yeah.
which to me is
Good.
hard to believe that 40, I mean, it seems so young. And like you said, women in their midlife are really at the best. They've got the experience, they've honed their skills, they still have a lot of life to live and to give and to put out there for work, good productive work. I mean, look, why aren't we looking at role models like Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi? These are all older women. These are I think Kamala's in her late 50s. And why aren't we going, okay, she's like in the highest office in the nation for a woman, and she's in her 50s. So why can't we look at that as examples of, I think our culture needs to change. Women have a double whammy. There's sexism, and then there's also ageism. And if you're, we live in a youth obsessed culture, and if you're not, you're starting to show wrinkles as a woman,
God
you're
forbid,
looked at
right?
not as valued. And this is by design, because the cosmetics industry is a $534 billion industry, and it needs you to feel bad about your age. And so everybody wants to wear, that's how we become a youth obsessed culture. And so ageism is alive and well in the workplace. In fact, a new AARP report shows that 78% of older workers feel that they're discriminated against.
Oh yeah. And it's so hard to prove, right? I mean, when you're competing for a job and they're like, sorry, but you're like, I have X, Y, and Z experience. I have a lot of life. And when you're talking about women specifically, if you had children, I mean, right now, my kids are still middle school. But, when I'm in my 50s, yes, I'm taking care of kids, but they can take care of more of their stuff. I have more time to dedicate to my job because my kid can drive themselves everywhere they want to go, or they're in their own activities. And I can dedicate more time to the workplace, but it's as if the workplace doesn't want me at my prime. And that sucks.
It is. It's so discouraging for women of this age. But, I work with women that are reinventing themselves. And, there's certain industries that are worse, obviously. And broadcasting is one, acting, tech is you're old if you're 30 years old.
Right.
You're considered like one of the dinosaurs there. And so there's certain industries that are better. And, I work with people. I just worked with a woman who was an actress, and now she's in her 50s, but she has a passion for older people, and she wants to use her enthusiasm and her entertainment experience to create better lives for them. So she became like an activity coach at these different living
There you go.
communities. And so she gets all of that out there. So it really is, it can be a really good time to, if you can, because a lot of people still need to make money. And if you're
That's the point. Exactly.
right. So if you're a person that has time to reinvent yourself, I mean, it is a process. Sometimes it doesn't happen right away, and I always tell my clients that I say, this is a process. I'm not just going to make a resume and you're going to throw it out there and you're going to start getting these jobs.
Yeah, it's tough.
But there are ways to make it better, like using your transferable skills. Like, for instance, I use my transferable skills for what I'm doing now.
Mhm.
So I'm a writer, so I'm a resume writer. I just write in a different form.
Mhm.
I have a master's in psychology, so I'm sort of using some of my coaching psychology skills. So I'm honing the different parts of my skills and my passions to create a new job.
That's awesome.
We
If you
gotta,
guys are just let me just let
yeah,
people know if you guys are just joining us, I'm speaking with Terry Hardesty with Hardesty Media and
Actually,
also
midlife
Gayla
vision.
Schiff. Oh yeah, midlifevision.com. Find her website there. And also Gayla Schiff, who's one of our viewers and listeners. And we're talking about ageism in the workplace. And like Terry just mentioned, reinventing yourself when you're a bit older, but still have so much life in you. Go ahead, Kim.
I wanted to get your guys' response to this text from Shib, who says part of the ageism comes down to what can be seen as the ability to manage. Older work often question managers, while younger workers
Ooh.
don't have the experience or confidence to do so. Do you guys think that's true? Do you think older workers are harder to manage where, yes, sir, younger workers may just walk in and go, yes, sir, whatever you say, yes, ma'am. And older workers are like, I think I got a better way to do it, which can be valuable too.
Let's start with Gayla. What do you think, Gayla, in your experience?
Oh, right now, the older workers, um, okay. I'm one of them, and I haven't been there where I worked forever. I haven't. And some of the OGs, as I would say, they're burnt out, but they have a work ethic. They will not
Mm,
call out. They show up on time. They leave when they're supposed to leave. They do their job, and they expect the same of others. And it's the opposite. When the young people come in, they're like, whatever. Whatever. I'm serious. That's how it is. And we're like, ay, ay, ay.
right.
So I'm one of them. I have the old school work ethic. You show up early before you start. You do your thing. You stay a little late if you need to, and then you do what's expected and then some.
Right.
But it's not where I work. That's not how it is.
Right. Terry, what do you think about that?
Well, I think that it's valuable to have more input into a company, to give more information than maybe a young person. It all depends on the business and
Mhm.
what their model is. But the industries that are in the companies that are um, have older workers, they can be looked at as valuable, especially as mentors is a good example. So young people cannot be mentors. So that is something that as an older person that you would want on a resume is more like, okay, I have the ability for leadership and mentorship. And that is a valuable asset that sets you apart from the younger.
I'm so glad that you also write resumes and you just brought that up. What about the wording? Because, obviously Gayla's listening, Terry. What about the wording of how you describe what you do? Because there could be passive words and more forceful words where you're in charge. And do you work with women because I could see how women could be like, well, I kind of helped with this. While stereotypically men will be like, yeah, I led the entire team doing it. And is there kind of that stereotype within the genders on how they present the hard work they did in their prior jobs?
Yeah, I always tell them this is your time to really boast about yourself because there is that sort of tendency to, well, I didn't really do anything. And then, part of my thing is I interview people for an hour, and that's also a transferable skill that I got from journalism. But I really try to pull out the nuggets and the action words and the powerful accomplishments that they may not even have thought that they actually did. And so it takes time to sometimes get all of that information from them. But there's also other things that you can do on your resume and some don'ts, which is don't put your year of when you graduated from college. And some people like to boast, oh, I've had 25 years experience in the financial industry. Well,
No?
make it 10, because
Really?
yeah, because it dates you. Then they're immediately
They're
going,
doing the math.
Okay,
You don't
25
even get the call.
years that they
Yeah.
graduated.
Isn't that crazy though? That's crazy to me. You would want to say like Steve Moskowitz, our exclusive sponsor.
Yeah.
I mean, I want someone with 30 plus years of experience doing my taxes, but a woman who wants to present herself this way is like, well, just
Yeah,
take
you always have
15
to
years
keep
of
it.
experience off. Come on.
But I wonder,
Yeah.
Terry, if you don't put the year on, is that a red flag? Like it's an older person, they don't want me to
Good
know.
question.
You mean for the education?
Yeah, from when you graduated from college, the dates from when you,
No,
you
I
know,
don't
they
think it's
look
a red
back at
flag.
your
It's
dates of
pretty.
employment, like when you started at a place, when you ended that job, when you started the
Oh,
next one, when you ended. All those dates you
yeah.
could look back and go, okay, this lady's been working since the, you know, the early 90s or whatever it may be.
Right. So what I do is I always do, I don't care even if they're younger. It's like you go back only about 12 years. Unless
Really?
something is really relevant for the job that they want now, like maybe they did something that they now want to go back to, but somehow you know, you don't go all the way down. So that's a way to get away from that. And then you don't put the date for the education. I don't usually, even for younger people, I mean, if they're really young, I put the date, you know, because
Right.
their education is really important and relevant to what they're doing. But even in their, you know, 40s, I probably wouldn't put the date. It's just a
That's
standard
interesting.
thing.
Well,
And then the other thing that you have to really think about is your email address. You don't want anything like, you know, yahoo.com or, you know, AOL, because that shows you're not
a
up
good
on
point.
tech. It shows that you're kind of old school. So it's good to brush up on the tech skills too.
What about like having, you know, a web page? I always thought that websites for people was simply like if you're in the media or an actress or something. But do you think it's important to advertise yourself in that type of way, Terry?
I don't.
Like a calling card, like a business, like you don't hand business cards anymore. Like you'd be like, you could find me online at Terry Hardesty or
Yeah,
gaylaship.com.
I mean, if you're talking about like hiring managers and people like that, they don't want to take the extra step. They really, your resume is not a dinosaur. It really is the in to your first step. And you know, I don't think having a web page is going to help you.
Okay.
Um,
Cover letter or no cover letter?
yes, cover letter. I love cover letters. I love writing cover letters.
Really? Okay. I
Yeah,
never know. I mean, I can't remember the last time I filled out a resume because we work in this business where you were talking about, Terry. It's more of who you know, or Gayla, you were mentioning it. It's who you know. Oftentimes it gets you a leg in on a company. I mean, how many people, and I'm seeing it in the live chat, I got my job because I know X, Y, and Z person who introduced me to this person. That's literally how I got my first job in radio, was because I went to a class with a guy who heard about a radio opening, and that's all she wrote, you know? So, Gayla, before I let you guys go, what's next for you? I mean, what's on your plan? Are you going to stay in healthcare? What's next?
I'm a goal-oriented person, so Terry, you may get something from me, a little ring from me.
I was going to say that. I was going to hook you guys up.
we
There
should
you
stay in
go.
touch, Gayla. Definitely.
Thank you. And you know what? If someone sees this on YouTube, yeah. So, if someone knows or works with me that sees this on YouTube, so be it. But you know, we all got to take care of ourselves, right? So,
Right.
I'd have to what I'm a goal-oriented person, individual. So I gotta say, things change, like you said, things change in a day, right?
Yeah,
They
exactly.
do in a
Yeah.
day, you know. And what I heard about Station X, I was like, holy bleep bleep to the bleep, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
You weren't the
Believe
only
me.
one, Gayla.
You're in good company, my friend. You're in good company.
But I do
So-
want to say about the, you know, there is some good news in terms of, I've been seeing a lot of these actresses coming out lately about the whole ageism thing.
Mhm.
And, you know, Drew Barrymore, you know, all Jamie Lee Curtis, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, all talking about it's, you know, everything is about anti-aging and it needs to be changed to pro-aging.
Yes, because we all
Mhm.
age. I mean,
We
it's
all
going
age.
to happen.
And it
It's
doesn't
right.
mean we're irrelevant. And,
Mhm.
you know, I looked at a study once and it said women's number one fear of growing older is becoming invisible.
Mhm. Yeah.
or
And that's
unheard.
scary
Unheard.
because
Well,
we
yeah,
want to
that's
be relevant, and we are. But when our culture is telling us, oh, you're not worth so much anymore,
right.
that's really discouraging. And it shouldn't be like that. And it
And
shouldn't,
I'm gonna say, if I can say it, BS.
it is BS.
It is BS. Yes, absolutely. All right. So I
Right
thank
on,
you both.
Gayla.
I
Right
thank
on.
you ladies so much for coming on. Gayla, stay in touch. Terry as
I
well.
will.
You can find Terry at midlifevision.com. Reach out to her. She understands what you're going through. No matter whether you're a man, a woman, just reach out to her. I appreciate both of you guys coming on. Great
Thank you.
discussion. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
guys.
Bye, ladies.
Nikki,
Thank
Kim.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Yeah, I mean, how frustrating is that, Kim? I mean, we're getting to the point in our lives or are already at it where we have all these life skills, this work experience.
Yeah.
And because there's a date right there, Terry
Mm.
was blowing my mind about not putting like taking decades off of your
She was for me too,
experience.
but I don't think I could do that. And the reason is because I was at Station X for more than 20 years.
Mm,
So if I'm only going back, she said, what, 12, 15 years, something,
right.
then that's the only job I had. That's the only resume. That's all I'm worth to you is what I contributed from Station X. Because I've
Yeah.
got other stations way back when, but still, I don't know. I have to think
Yeah.
about how that looks.
Well, in our business, I think is a little unique. And I think every time we talk about jobs and we talk about our business, you got to have to add the caveat that in our business, it's very who you know. People know Kim McAllister's name and know she's been in radio and at Station X for a lot longer than she may put down on her resume. But at the same time, just launching this show, one of the reasons why we wanted to launch, at least for me personally, so quickly, I don't want a gap. I don't want my skills to get
Yeah.
a little rusty. I want to
Mhm.
continue having the conversation with people. It's a skill that you need to continue to hone. And if you let it go, even for a month, 3 months, a year,
It's different.
it's
Mhm.
different. And all of a sudden, the technology, the shows, the topics, how people, you have to, whatever your job field is, you need to stay up on it. And I think that's good advice no matter where you are in your career.
Here's another text from Shib who says the
Okay.
younger generation decided that work is a tool, that they want to control their lives and be in control of the tool and not the reverse.
Interesting. And Shiv, are you thinking that that's a bad thing? Because
I think it's talking about older versus younger workers, that it's a different mindset, where we're kind of maybe older workers could be a slave to the job. The younger workers don't see it that way. Younger workers, if
yeah,
it's not working out for them, they're like, yeah, this job is not for me. Bye.
right.
Or
Well, and
here's what I'm
also,
willing to give you, not what, whereas older workers is like, we're going to give everything to the job. Workers
well,
are like, yeah, here's what I can give you and no more.
Well, I think it's also has to do with the responsibility. Not saying younger workers may not have someone they're caring for, but when you're older, you probably have a mortgage. Maybe kids are going to college. There's
Mhm.
added expenses that just come as you and the people in your life age. And so, you know what? If I've got to suck it up and not quiet quit or work my wage and do a
Mhm.
little extra so that I'm not laid off because I got that college payment coming up, or my mother needs to come live with us because she's sick and that's just going to be an added expense. All of these things are the reality of what we've also dubbed that sandwich generation, where you're taking care of your kids, you're taking care of your parents, you have all of these expenses, and then all of a sudden at that moment when everything should just be running smoothly, you get something thrown in like losing a job and you have to start all over again.
Eddie
It's tough.
Eddie says, I lead a team of 21 in a manufacturing environment. I've been with
Okay.
the company for 10 years and I'm 37, and often lead teammates 10 to 20 years older than I am. I respect their knowledge and the respect is big.
Oh, I like that. I
Yeah.
like that comment. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think that there needs to be a mutual respect, right? If you're an older worker and you need to learn a new skill that younger workers know, you have to interact, you have to collaborate. And like Terry had mentioned, mentors. You're a mentor because you've been through it before. And so younger workers also need to value that experience and that possible mentorship that could come from a worker that's been there a long time. It may be a little bit different, but the skill set, that doesn't go away. You just build on it and build on it. All right. We're going to do some news in just a moment. Then we'll come back and lighten things up with a little celebrity trash. I do want to say, please, right now, if you like what you hear, if you like what you see, click that thumbs up. It's right below where it says the Nikki Medoro Show on YouTube. Just click the thumbs up during every show. If you click the button that says show more, you'll see the description of the show and then all of the links to my Patreon so you can help financially support the show. Also, my podcast, if you choose to listen to it just on whatever podcast app you use. And then, of course, my website, thenikkimedoroshow.com. But right now, we need to see what's going on out there with Kim McAllister.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
I am Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-DEAL. President Biden says he believes crime is a real issue in the upcoming election. Speaking to the White House, President Biden said his administration has a great record on it. Republicans are making crime a central issue ahead of the election. One U.S. senator from New York is introducing legislation to try to get ahead of the next pandemic or health crisis. Democrat Kristen Gillibrand announcing the One Bill Security Act. It would create a federal council tasked with preventing, detecting, and responding to biological threats that significantly impact health, the economy, and national security. The PGA Tour is suing LIV Golf's Saudi-backed evidence discovery. The Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund is controlled by the Saudi Crown Prince. They've been the source of financial backing for this controversial golf league. The tour is asking a federal judge to get the fund's governor to be deposed and produce documents related to the league. San Francisco 49ers trading for star running back Christian McCaffrey yesterday. The Niners confirming the trade with the Carolers last night. In exchange, the Niners will send second, third, and fourth round picks from this upcoming draft, plus a fifth rounder in 2024. McCaffrey's been dealing with injuries, though, from the last two seasons. In the 2019 season, he was a dynamic, running for nearly 1,400 yards, in addition to having more than 1,000 receiving yards. What say you, 49ers fan?
Well, I didn't know a lot about him. And I should probably. I didn't, though. But my husband laying on the couch yesterday and he's like, look. And then he seemed excited about it. So I'm going to be optimistic. I don't like the whole injury thing. We're an injury prone team, damn it. I just, the injuries that have been on our defense lately, and you see it during the game. That game last week was it the Falcons. We should have won that game. It's just, but they're my Niners. I'll support them no matter what. So yay.
More football. A signed Tom Brady, who's from the San Mateo area, right?
Yes.
Signed Tom Brady rookie card selling for more than $2 million. It marks the highest sale for any football-related card at public auction this year. The card is from the 2000 playoff contenders ticket set. Crossed the $1 million mark in just 16 hours after bidding started. Only 100 of these cards were produced. It was graded as being in mint condition with the autograph graded as perfect.
Wow.
$2 million for a card. Oh my Lord.
I
I'll
mean,
take your $2 million to live on. How about that?
Exactly. I mean, Tom Brady, did you see that article about him comparing going back to football to going a deployment like in the military? And I'm like, I mean, he was making this thing that, you're just immersed in it, the travel, the time away from the family. I think that's what he meant. No, dude. You're making buku bucks. A card
It's not the
is worth
same.
$2 million.
Yeah.
It's not the same as going to the military. I understand what he was saying. Apparently, he was seen without his wedding ring, or he went to a wedding without his wife. She's gonna dump his ass. I hope this season was worth it. I really do, because I don't know if they're going to be able to survive it. But he's got a lot of money.
I get, because clearly we're not done in our careers, right? I mean, obviously we have financial needs as well, but we're not
Great
done
point. Yes.
doing what we need to do. And so I get that maybe he's not done doing what he wants to do, being, achieving all that he wants to achieve.
He's achieved it, Kim McAllister.
Another Super Bowl win.
No, he's selfish. He's being selfish.
Is that worth giving up what your family's needs are? And I don't know.
No,
I don't
the
think
answer is
could.
no. He is being selfish.
The answer is no.
He has the ego.
Whoa.
Like, I'm sorry. You do not promise something to your wife, which has been well documented. Retire. Announce a retirement and then pull it back. You just don't do it. If he was my husband, I would have kicked his ass to the curb, and that's exactly what Giselle did. And I don't know.
So let's talk about the the psychological tie to your job. You are Nikki Medoro, but you're not just Nikki Medoro. People who your family love and your mom knows, you're her daughter and you're a mom or whatever. You're also Nikki Medoro who was on the radio. You're Nikki Medoro of Station X. And when that's taken away from you, it's kind of like a bit of a, you know, oh, I'm not that person.
Nope,
Oh, there's,
not the
I
same.
don't
Not the
have that
same.
anymore. And
Right.
so you kind of go back to just being your plain old self, which is really who you were all along, but you just kind of have this identity with your career. And I'm wondering if maybe that's it for him. If
Well, he
maybe
can't play
his
for the rest of his life, Kim. At some
no,
point,
but
he's
it's
just gonna have to be
hard when you
Tom Brady, the model, the commentator, because he's gonna do
yeah.
now. I mean,
I
Tom
mean,
Brady will always be
I
Tom
get
Brady.
there's
I don't
not a
care.
sob story for Tom Brady, but I do think it is hard to go from being, superstar NFL quarterback Tom Brady to retired Tom Brady. There's a
Oh,
difference there.
suck it up, Tom. Go home, take care of your kids, help with the carpool. I
No
mean, I
love
just
for
think
Tom.
no.
Wow.
Well, as a football player, he is a great football player. I think that as a husband, this is a big failure for him. It's a big black mark on his marriage because when push came to shove, and I know that I'm just speaking out of
He
things I
didn't
don't
put her
know about,
first.
he didn't put her first. And
Mm-mm.
she let him, but she supported him all of these years. And then he gives her what I bet she's been waiting for, more time with him. You retired, and then after a month you pull it back, his ass would be grass. I am sorry. I would be done. And I think she's absolutely right. She's going to make him pay for it. And I hope they don't get divorced because they have kids. And I do think they love each other, I would assume. But the ultimate betrayal, and it's so public. Oh, hell no. I'd be pissed. I'm pissed, and I'm not even Giselle. I mean, it's
I
just
don't know if
absolutely
it's the
ridiculous.
ultimate betrayal. It's not like he was
It
caught
is.
in bed with a floozy or something.
Well, no, but I think it's actually worse. It's like you chose that over me. It's the same thing. It's like, I'm not enough for you. These kids, our family, that's not enough for you. You need to be on the field, traveling around, missing this, that, and the other, even though you promised me. I could do this argument all day,
Oh,
Kim McAllister.
sister, I'm going to
He is
lighten your
lost.
mood. Lightening your mood. I am moving on. The annual Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's inductee exhibit will open November 2nd. The exhibit will honor the class of 2022, and this year's
Nice.
inductees include Pat Benatar, Eminem, Dolly
Ooh,
Parton. I love Dolly Parton.
I
Lionel
know.
Richie, Duran Duran, Girls on Film, Eurythmics, and Carly Simon. This report
Nice.
sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. If you need help with your taxes, and really, who doesn't, give Steve a call. Tax deal, or you can reach him on the web, moskowitzllp.com. We had a question earlier. If I'm in a
Uh,
different state, can Steve help me? Yeah, he actually
oh,
can
yeah.
help you. He's
Oh,
got people in
absolutely.
all different states. He knows all the tax laws. He'll look it up. If he doesn't know right away, he'll figure it out for you. moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show. Yeah, baby.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So definitely hit that thumbs up button right now below the video. It's right below where it says the Nikki Medoro Show and today's date. And if you can support us, please do. All of the links can be found on the NikkiMedoroShow.com, including a link to our Patreon. Any amount is so appreciated. You have no idea. We have big plans for the show. We want to expand it. I don't think you were on yet, but I did celebrate. It's our first week. We did 5 shows. I forgot my little confetti, Kim, so we're just going to pretend confetti all over the place. So we've done 5 shows our first week, and I'm so excited to see where this show goes, but it can only
Yeah.
grow with your support. So again, any donation to our Patreon is appreciated. Hopefully next week we can also get the super chat feature up and running on the live chat on YouTube. And so all of that is to come right here on the Nikki Medoro Show.
And go
One
to
of the things,
the NikkiMedoroShow.com and you can
yes,
find all the links and everything there. It's kind of a one-stop shop. The
exactly.
NikkiMedoroShow.com.
So I made a promise to you yesterday, and I don't want to forget. I will squeeze in some celebrity trash, but we have plenty of time. So Kim, I've been telling people, like Gayla did, who came on to talk about ageism in the workplace, that you guys could also send me voice memos. If you want to weigh in on a story, if I didn't get to it, if there's something that's been bothering you that you want me to check out, fun, serious, in between, you can send me a voice memo. And if I like it, we could play it on our show. And so we received this message, Kim McAllister. And
Okay.
here, take a listen. Take a listen.
Nikki, Kim, this is Brian, formerly from Oakland. I'm calling because I heard you guys talking with Chip yesterday, and I was wondering which Senate candidate you thought was worse. Herschel Walker, who's running around pretending that he's a police officer. I feel like somebody or something could get hurt badly by him doing that. Or Weird Dr. Oz, who apparently has killed a bunch of puppies.
Okay, so I'm going to stop right there. There's no choice. I mean, who's worse, Oz or Herschel
Dr.
Walker?
Oz killed puppies? Brian, by the way, it's great to hear Brian's one of our old producers at the Station X. We love you. Brian lives on the East Coast now. He got out when the getting was good.
Exactly.
But Dr. Oz killed puppies? What?
So he did some sort of research, and I guess like 300 or something puppies were killed. It's like some animal
like
testing.
medical research on animals?
Something like that. Yeah, I did a quick search, which is just absolutely disturbing. So we have Dr. Oz, the puppy killer, or we have Herschel Walker, the fake cop that's putting up toy badges. They're both, answer to your question, Brian, both are awful. Vote Democrat. Vote blue. I don't understand how those two men are an option.
If I have to pick one.
Oh, no.
You got to pick one. Like, say you gotta. Like, you just, you gotta do it. I would say, research is not my first choice of the world. At least he can think. And Herschel Walker doesn't have a much gray matter left to think with. I think he's been hit in the head too many times, seriously. Like, I believe that that's the case. And so I don't think he's a rational, logical thinker. I mean, both are going to go to the Capitol and they're going to vote in a way in which I don't want. Right. I mean, he's not a thinker. He's just going to go along party lines. But would I want someone who could at least think for themselves? I probably would have to go with a thinker.
All right. Well, I hope I didn't mess up Brian's message. Let me see.
Genre. Wondering if you have something within the last 10 to 15 years, a good movie that's a good horror movie to share with.
Okay. So Brian, I paused it for a little bit. I lost the point, but he was also asking, because we were talking about horror movies. Mark Thompson actually had someone talking about scary movies, and Brian knows I love scary movies. So he says within the last 10, 15 years, I have been obsessed with the Annabelle Conjuring movies. It's like a series. So I love those. It's like Possession, Lorraine Warren, and I'm blanking on her husband's name right now. Those ones are really, really good. So you don't like scary movies that much, do you?
No, I can't watch them. I can't get them out of my head afterward. I remember a teenager and the neighbors had HBO and the kids had gone to bed and Children of the Corn came on. And I watched it. And for the next, I don't even now, if we live in a place in Petaluma, it's developed now, but it used to be, you look across the street and it was just kind of tall grass waving in the field. I swear to God, I thought those kids were coming for me. So I don't know. And then Rosemary's Baby I watched. And even when I couldn't get that out of my head, and I had seen it years earlier. So when I watch a horror movie, it doesn't leave me. So I just have decided that I get too freaked out. I can't do it.
Well, I saw Smile. I actually saw Smile. Was it the day or the day after Station X Let Us Go? It's where everyone has their.
That was the real horror show.
Yeah, that one was jump scare and gory. I liked that one. But then Brian has this question, which
everybody is Halloween's coming up, and this question is for both of you. I know you have young kids, and I have a young kid. I'm wondering when you start watching your young kids watch spookier things. They don't have to be horror necessarily, but just spookier things. And I'm wondering if you have TV show recommendations or movie recommendations for younger kids in that genre to get them sort of geared up for Halloween. Anyway, I miss you guys, and I will hopefully chat with you very soon. Bye.
All right, that's Brian Pelletier. He was also the producer on Chip Franklin's show. We love him. He's so much fun. I just miss him.
Yeah.
So I'm terrible, and Kim is excellent. As far as like letting my kids watch things. So I'm terrible. I fully admit not my son. My son does not like scary movies. My daughter is 13 and she watches scary movies. And I really Yeah, I don't really have much rules. I remember being very, very tiny watching Thriller, Poltergeist. My parents did not
Mm.
raise me in a home in which, "Hey, if you can handle it, don't come running into my room because you can't sleep." That wasn't the way I was raised, and so I just if you wanna watch it, all right, let's watch it. That's me. Kim?
So there was some research done, and my sister has the
All
numbers because
the
she's the one that
research
told me
on
about
it make me feel
the
guilty about the
research.
damn thing.
There was some research done about how many dead bodies kids see on TV, movies, and the media from the time they start watching TV until the time they're 18. It was a shocking number, like hundreds of thousands of dead bodies. And I thought to
Mm.
myself, I don't want my kids to see dead bodies because I don't want them to get desensitized to violence. I don't want that it's okay. I want them to, when,
You let
we're
them
going to
watch
get
the news.
enough of it from 18 on, we're going to get enough of it. So I'm going to limit that. So my kids hate both me and Common Sense Media because whenever they ask,
I love
"Hey,
Common
can
Sense
we
Media.
watch thing?" I'm like, commonsensemedia.com. What does it look like? What's the age? What are the things I should be concerned of? How much violence is in it? I look up every single thing. So yeah, no, we don't do horror movies here, but we do Charlie Brown and the Great Pumpkin, And this year I have an 8-year-old and a 13-year-old, and we just watched Hocus Pocus 2.
What'd
And
you think?
so, it's fine.
It
It's a
was, like,
movie.
campy about it. It was like a parody of the original, I felt like
As
it
Mark Thompson told me today, I had lower standards as far as movies are concerned, and he's probably right because I'll watch kids stuff even if I think
right.
it sucks, just because the kids will enjoy it. So yeah, I am pretty careful about what I let them watch, and I would
You're
say if
so
there's
good.
anything if there's anything you're looking at, check out commonsensemedia.com. Put in those
I love
numbers,
that
put in the
website.
movie, and let's
Yeah.
find out what it is so you at least know going into it. Sometimes they'll say, "Hey, this movie is great, except there's an F-bomb dropped at this exact point in the movie," especially if you look at the parent reviews. So when you get to, this scene, fast forward to the next scene. And I love when people do that because it really kind of lets you still
You're
watch the
so
movie and just
good.
avoid some of the pitfalls.
See, I love Common Sense Media. I love the website. The people there are awesome. We actually had them on at Station X a couple of times. It is a great resource for parents. So for me, I use them if I want to look for something about a specific issue and if it's age appropriate, right?
Mhm.
So remember the 13 Reasons Why Netflix
Yeah.
show that came out? I was very concerned about that. Things that kind of deal with issues like that, I'm very concerned with, and that website works out. Things that are horror, like Freddy Krueger or Jason or Michael Myers, where it's like, that's never going to happen. You just have to deal with the scary and the jump and the blood and whatever. I just kind of gauge it on my own kid. Now, I wasn't letting my 8-year-old or anything watch this type of stuff, but my daughter's 13. And I'm on the other end of the spectrum with that. If she can handle it, I she hasn't really chosen anything that is anything really that bad as far as sexually graphic, but a lot of it is just jump scare, kind of scary type of stuff. A lot of
So
people are saying Goosebumps for Brian Pelletier. He was asking.
okay.
That's a great one. Scary stories to tell in the dark as they get a little bit older could be. But that's just off the top of my head. That's it.
I said it wrong. It's commonsensemedia.org, not .com. I was
Oh,
recently asked by my 13-year-old daughter if she could watch Mean Girls. So I looked
ooh,
it
the
up.
old one with Lindsay
Uh-huh.
Lohan.
They one girls.
Yeah,
And now at 13, whatever she's watching,
yeah.
he's
Let her watch
watching at
it.
the 8-year-old, right? So they say 13, but then I looked into what they have to say. They
Okay.
call that one a slut-faced hoe bag. There's some sleeping with a teacher. There's some
Well, it's a
gay
high
slurs.
school movie.
There's
Yeah, it's
some
a high school
teenage
movie.
drinking. So after all of this, and you look at what parents say, they're all 18 plus, 16 plus. This movie's disgusting. This is not for like preteen or early teenagers. No, I said no to Mean Girls.
God, you're good. Yeah, my
I
daughters
mean,
watch Mean Girls.
or bad. Maybe I'm too harsh. I don't know.
No, you know your kids, and you know what? Yeah, maybe I should shelter my kids more. I'm just being honest. I that's the type of mom I am. I just but yeah, Mean Girls is about Mean Girls, and it is right on the Tina Fey. Part of that movie, and I think helped either direct or produce that movie. So it's funny, but it's definitely a really hard look at being a mean girl. So we have a couple more minutes left. Let's do a little bit celebrity trash because it was one of my favorite things to do over at Station X. So did you hear about Alanis Morissette, Kim McAllister? I don't
No,
know
but
how
I love her
you would.
music.
I love her. Did you
Yeah.
see her documentary? Was it HBO that was doing them? I think they did one on Alanis. I think it was HBO. It was so well done. It was about her, the Jagged Little Pill album when she came out. Well, get this. Alanis Morissette has now allowed, I don't know, her daughter does. Her daughter's name is Onyx. Her daughter does not call Alanis Morissette mom anymore.
What does she call her?
Alanis Morissette. But she says the whole thing. She says it like I call you Kim McAllister all the time. Your
Yeah.
husband seems to think that it's a serial killer thing that I'm doing with you, but it's not. I do that with everybody. I go Brett Burkhardt, Kim McAllister.
Yeah.
I like saying everyone's full name. Yeah. So she says instead of mom, she'll say Alanis Morissette. She says, my daughter has taken to calling me by my full name because she notices that no one uses my full name when we're in personal environments. So she's like, I'll call you Alanis Morissette. What do you think about that?
I would be disappointed. I mean, in her case, I don't know how many kids she has, but I think it's one, right?
Right.
So there's one person in the world that calls you mom. And I don't know about you, but when to kind of try hard to have kids, and when I heard them say mama for the first time, it's like my heart just spilled out of my body.
That's true.
If there's two people in this world that get to call me mom, mommy, mama, mother, whatever they're calling me, but
not mother though. If you call me mother, then you're mad. You're like mother. I'm like, oh Lord.
Julia
Almighty.
started calling me mother sometimes. I'm like, okay, I get what you're saying. I did that too. I know where you're coming from, sister. But I mean, I would be started calling me Kim McAllister. I want them to call me mom. Those are the only two people in this world that do it. Save my name for everybody else.
There you go. All right. The Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, is reflecting on her time on Deal or No Deal. Trivia question for any listeners out there. This is the only game show I was a hair's breadth away from being a contestant on, was Deal or No Deal, which requires less than zero skill as long as you know your numbers. For anyone that doesn't know Deal or No Deal, a bunch of very pretty women held briefcases with numbers. The contestant just looked at a suitcase and, obviously you wanted to open suitcases with low dollar amounts. And if you hit the big ones, then obviously you weren't going to receive that amount of money. Well, she was talking about her experience in 2006 when she was one of 25 women on stage holding those briefcases. She said she would walk up and down a lighted staircase and wait for the contestants to call out her name. So I was thankful for the job, but not for how it made me feel, which was not smart. And by the way, I was surrounded by smart women on that stage with me, but that wasn't the focus of why we were there. And I wound up leaving with a pit in my stomach, knowing that I was much more than what was being objectified on the stage. You knew what you were hired to do. I mean, I could have a master's degree and be a doctor and a lawyer, but if I'm hired to stand there and smile with a briefcase on my hand, is it fair to say you were objectified?
Not if you knew what you were getting into going into it. No.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like I understand what you're saying. Like,
Nikki, we'd like you to come and comment on this case. That's one thing. But if they say, Nikki, we'd like you to wear a tight outfit and don't say anything, just stand there and look pretty. Then
that's the job.
Take the job or don't take the job, but you know what the job is. Come on.
Yeah, I feel like she's just complaining to complain, and I don't know. Meghan Markle needs to be mindful of the things she complains about. How about that? I mean, you want to complain about the royal family and the things going on there. That's one thing. Complaining about, I believe, was her entrance into Hollywood, not really high on my list of things that you should be complaining about. Okay, so that is our Friday show. Again, hit the thumbs up right now. Go to thenikkimedoroshow.com to find our YouTube channel so you can share it with your friends so we can get those watchable hours so we can start the super chat. If you have a few bucks or a lot of bucks, please donate to our Patreon. It really helps us, and put some money in Kim's pocket, put some money in my pocket as well. And just so we can continue to do this show, because I love doing the show with Kim and I love talking with all of you. If you have a story idea like Gayla Schiff, our listener, has, please send it over to me, the Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com. And to take us out, it's the one and only Jacob.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.